the 1850s. And when the Spanish government turned over their Spanish colonies in North America to the United States government, there was a treaty made, the Treaty of Guadalupe and Hidalgo.
1848.
Yes, that's right. And the agreement between the two governments was that land grant holders, Spanish land grant holders, would be allowed to retain the land they were granted by the Spanish. And as soon as the land was turned over to the U.S. government, the state of California immediately sued to counteract, to reverse that treaty, because they wanted all the land. And during that process, the U.S. Supreme Court ended up reviewing it, and they asked for all land grant people claiming they had Spanish land grants
Title search
to submit their claims, and the Supreme Court looked at each case and ruled whether it was a valid claim or not. And so out of 850 claims that were made approximately, they upheld 670. And then I started looking at the names of the grantees, and I was shocked because the greatest number and the largest amount of land was granted to people with the last name Castro. And then I noticed what counties and what towns, because that's listed too, the modern towns, modern cities, and almost all of the UC, almost all of the University of California campuses are where Castro land grants are.
It's beginning to come into focus now.
And the Livermore Nuclear Weapons Lab, Livermore is a Spanish land grant to the Castros also. So then I said, oh God, there's really a connection. And then I looked at UC Davis and I said, my God, they submitted a bid to have the CERN most advanced collider built here at UC Davis. And it is
You're talking about the Large Hadron
the Large
Collider.
Hadron Collider.
Okay.
Yes, and Japan bid on it, Davis bid on it, or California did, and somehow it ended up half in Switzerland and half in France. And I asked Laurent, why did they do that? He said, well, then neither France nor Switzerland own it. Someone else controls it. And so that would be these vested interests I'm talking about. And actually, it's those hidden bloodlines that funded the development of HAARP and the collider from the very beginning.
Let's go back to Lawrence Livermore.
Okay.
Because this seems to be the institution that was at the dawn of this self-destructive hostage, high-level techno-hostage-taking situation, this extortion scheme that you're going to hopefully outline first.
Right.
And perhaps you can talk about your own experience at Lawrence Livermore.
Yes.
You worked there for a time.
Yes. I worked at Livermore Nuclear Weapons Lab from 1989 to 91. And I worked on the WIP project, Waste Isolation Pilot Program in New Mexico, which was to bury nuclear waste underground. And all attempts to make a storage facility for nuclear waste have failed in the United States, all of them. And when the New Mexico one failed, they just said, we're going to do it in Nevada. It's the last place we can do it, at the Nevada test site, where they've done 1,300 nuclear bomb tests. And even that has failed because they put it in an active volcanic zone. So 32 earthquakes a month happen where they're planning to store nuclear waste safely for 250,000 years. I don't think so. And this this is so crazy. It's very, very crazy. But let's see, what was I talking about?
We're talking about your background at Livermore, because what I'm trying to establish is that you've done this external research, but you also have lived this. I mean, you've worked in these institutions, and so you're also bringing the insights of someone who was working in the belly of the beast.
So in 1991, I packed all my stuff in my car one day, and I drove out the gate of the Livermore lab, and I left my keys and my pager in the guardhouse, and I went home. I fired them. They didn't fire me. And with the University of California, they've gone into chancellors and vice chancellors' offices and marched them, the guards, to the border of the campus and said, "Get out of here, you're fired." And they were never allowed to remove their personal items. And so I said, I'm not going to let them do that to me. I'm leaving this place, and I'm taking all my stuff, and I'm going to fire them. And they've never stopped retaliating against me since then. That was 1989, but 91. But I'm glad that I've had this experience. It's been hell in a lot of ways, but you have to be in their house. You have to live in their house to know who they are and what they are, and so that when you leave, you know how to challenge them. You know how to expose them, because what they're doing is immoral, it's illegal, it's insane. They are destroying this planet without our permission, without informing us, and without even having a good reason for doing it. They're just doing it because they can. And I think that's what really woke me up and just changed my whole life, was taking this on.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the biographical element, because I sense there's something that's driving you that goes deeper than pure intellectual curiosity.
Oh, no, it's because I love people. It's because I love nature. I love living things. We live in a beautiful world. The earth is so beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a game. This is not an academic exercise, either for Loren or for myself.
No.
I am in their house. I am working in the belly of the beast. I have suffered, and I'm not going to talk about it too much today, the repercussions of asking certain questions about my own workplace, which is I'm entitled to do as a citizen, as a sovereign human being, as an academic, as an American. I'm entitled to do that, and I will exercise those rights to the best of my ability. But it takes research such as this, cutting-edge research such as this, that will provide us the intellectual, the historical, the analytical framework to understand what we are facing. Because so far, these people have been very good in veiling the truth and hiding it, because the Rockefellers own the University of Chicago. The Russell Trust runs Yale University. All these bloodlines control information, scholarship, and every single aspect, and then sciences, of course, almost every single aspect of our lives that shape our world.
And what I learned at UC Berkeley, I was working on gender equity issues and minority equality and things like that in the early 90s. And there were 500 lawsuits against the University of California for gender discrimination, and also ethnic issues also. And so I started investigating, well, what is the University of California? Why are they breaking all these laws and everything? Well, it turns out that Dwight and Gilman started the land grant, the U.S. land grant program, and that was to have the U.S. government allot land in each state to build a state university.
This is the Morrill Act, correct?
That's correct. And it was to educate the farmers, the pioneers, to create teachers and military and farmers, to educate them more, and it was to create a bigger economy. It was to create wealth, new wealth in the United States. It was to benefit everyone, not just the businessmen and the oligarchs, but also the people. And so Dwight and Gilman, they had everything to do with setting up UC Berkeley, which was the first Berkeley campus. So they were very intimately involved with the University of California. And then they went on to establish the other state universities and colleges. But from the very beginning, all of these institutions were exempt from state laws.
This is what I found out.
Yes.
They are a government within a government.
That's right.
A sovereign entity.
And they actually were set up to benefit the oligarchs and industrialists and so forth who went to the Ivy League colleges.
Sure.
So the state universities were set up to train workers for the ruling elite. And so you need to understand the history and the ancient history of issues that you're involved with before you can ever really understand what is really happening.
And as a footnote, President Gilman, who was the first president to really put his stamp on the University of California system, was a member of the Order of Death. He was a Skull and Bones person.
They were both Skull and Bones.
They were both Skull and Bones people, and perhaps we can range into this area a little bit later, because there's an occult overlay when we're talking about this.
Absolutely, very, very much so. And the origin of Skull and